all about upcycling. Now, I don't mean recycling, which is something we all think of, having an old piece of furniture and making it new again. I actually mean when you buy something new and you choose to make it better, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. So I've purchased from a nationwide discount or low-cost shop 3 of these stools. They look really simple. I quite like the shape. I quite like the white metal on them, but I do think that we could make them a little more amazing. And I'm going to show you 3 super simple ways you can make these stylish, your own, and do it affordably. So let's get to it. First technique we're going to do is actually extremely simple. We're just going to paint the top of this. And today, for all 3 stools, we're sticking with a navy and white theme. So let's get to it. The first and most simple thing we need to do to make this easy on ourselves is to tape up the white metal. Just means as we're applying our paint, we don't have to worry about any drips, spills, or stray brush hairs. Naturally, before we paint anything, we do need to make sure it's clean, make sure we've given it a light sand with a sanding block, and then make sure we give it another clean. As many of you know, I'm a huge fan of not letting any paint go to waste. So this is a beautiful navy from a previous project that we're going to utilise again here. Alright, let's let that dry. We'll give it a light sand and then a second coat. Stool number 1 is done. We're now moving on to number 2, and we're going to get a little more fancy. You can pretty much do anything you want on these stools. So you could do spots, you could do stripes, you could do stars. All you need to do is get clever with the tape and then with the paintbrush. Now, if you were really attention to detail, you could absolutely measure out these strips or stripes to make sure they're perfect distances apart. However, you know what? I don't mind just being a little off the cuff with it. Now for this one, I'm using a Porter's chalk emulsion. I get all of this sort of stock from my local Bristol supplier. I love this because it covers really, really well, and there's no prep needed even to, previously varnished surfaces. When I am painting over timbers, when I'm upcycling furniture, I do like to not be too precious about my brush strokes. I think there's something really sweet and really nice about being able to see the brush strokes and being able to see a little bit of the timber grain. Adds interest and adds character. There we have it, second one done. We'll leave that to dry whilst we get on to the third. Now for number 3, we're doing something a little bit different here. I'm actually going to pad this seat for some extra comfort, and I'm going to upholster the top of it. Now, these are called fat quarters. These are available from so many different types of stores, Spotlight, Lincraft, any haberdashery type of shop. And it's just a simple piece of fabric. I actually don't know, someone else might know why they're called a fat quarter, but there you go. It's actually a perfect size to fit over here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to take this top off so it has a beautiful finish once it's done. Now that we've done that, we can actually use this top as a template to cut our wadding and our fabric. Now this again comes from just a standard craft store or fabric store, and we can use that to just get that little bit of extra oomph into our seat. A bit more of a luxe look. Now when you're using this as a template, we really don't want the wadding to be wrapped around, because these screws that secure the frame and the timber are actually quite tiny. And if we have too much padding there, these aren't going to be able to bite in. Perfect. Let's now do the same for the fabric. We do need, for the fabric, we do need a little bit of a lip that we can bring it over the edge and staple it in well inside that frame. But again, we don't want too much overhang. I'm about to sound like my mother, but I feel like saying, someone used my fabric scissors to cut paper. You can always tell when the kids have had the fabric scissors. Next step, let's secure all of this together. So fabric down, the good side down, wadding on, in we go. Now to secure this, I'm just using a really simple staple gun. As we staple, we will need to probably pleat just so that we can get the fabric to fit around that curved edge. Popping on some glasses for safety. That is so cool. That is such a good look. All right, let's put the stool back together. Now that makes my heart sing. Look at that. It is so cute. And there you have it. 1, 2, 3. You would never have known that these were budget and boring stools to begin with.
Thanks for watching. Did you know we run workshops for all things DIY and renovation? I've popped the link below with our schedule for the rest of the year. Hope to see you there sometime soon.